now return to scheduled programming.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh. Well, I have to go now.
What? Why? What?
Well, you're not the only new arrival.
Timothy Hutton goes to heaven and falls in love with Kelly McGillis, a spirit yet awaiting her arrival on Earth. In Made in Heaven, one of 5 new films we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Made in Heaven asks the same basic question as Warren Beatty's 1978 movie named Heaven Can Wait, and the question was, can true love bridge the chasm between this life and the next one? Well, in this movie, Timothy Hutton stars as a pleasant young man who sets out for California one morning and suddenly dies in an accident. The next thing he knows, he's in heaven, and almost the first person he meets is his dead aunt, who is now a spirit, and gives him a quick briefing.
Aunt Lisa?
They told me you were arriving today, so I came to pick you up.
But you're dead.
So are you, kiddo. Welcome to heaven.
That's Maureen Stapleton as the aunt. Hutton finds out that in heaven, all you have to do is think a thing, and it happens. For example, he can be anywhere in heaven that he wants to be, and even some places that he doesn't want to be.
Oh. I'm sorry, I missed the door. I'm sorry. I'm Mike Shea.
Hello, Mike.
I was looking for my friend Larry Polsky.
Oh, I believe you have the wrong house, but that's all right.
Larry and I were in the Army together at Omaha Beach. And,
Oh, I'm sure he's somewhere. Happens to all of us. Do you like a sandwich?
All you have to do is concentrate on what your friend, Larry Polsky, what he looks like, and then you'll be fine. Mike Shea.
Nice meeting you, Mike. Drop in anytime.
yes.
Maybe I could help you. I'm a guide.
And it's love at first sight between Hutton and Kelly McGillis there. They find out that in heaven, they can read each other's minds.
Annie,
Hello, Mike. What's on your mind?
you.
Really? That's nice.
Yeah, I was trying to think of an idea, but I kept thinking about you.
McGillis becomes Hutton's heavenly tour guide, but even as she shows him things, there's a sadness in the background because she is a new spirit and has to leave soon to spend her allotted time on Earth, where, of course, she has no memory of what went on in heaven and leads a completely mundane lifestyle and meets a completely ordinary guy.
Like to go to dinner?
No, thank you. But it was nice to meet you.
Oh, it's nice meeting you, too, under rather strange circumstances. How about lunch? Is there a husband? That was tacky of me, wasn't it?
And the gimmick in the movie is that Hutton has also asked permission to go back to Earth, hoping that they can meet each other, and they have until they're both 30. Now, what would you say the chances are that before they're 30, they will meet each other and will fall in love? I'd say they're pretty good. I really enjoyed the scenes in this movie that were set in heaven. Once they explained all the rules up there, it seemed like a place that was both divine and kind of tricky. For example, if it's true that all you have to do is imagine you're with somebody and then you are, well, that's terrific, but what if they don't want to be with you? In other words, I want to be with you, so there I am, and you say, get out of here. I would have enjoyed...
Sounds plausible.
Sounds plausible to you. I would have enjoyed the movie more if they just stayed in heaven, exploring the ground rules for an entirely different way of existence. Instead, too much of the movie is set down here on Earth, and that part is completely predictable. And, of course, there is that question of whether they're going to get back together again, and they spend so much time not getting back together that you just say, come on, come on.
Well, I thought this movie was sensational.
You did?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I think the heaven sequences, which you already said are great, because they're played so naturally. The movie opens up, we go to heaven, we're right there, and there are rules in heaven, and we see heaven, and I sat there, mouth agape, saying, great, somebody's taken me to heaven, and they've laid out an idea of what it's like. Second, the notion that you bring up, it's something that I actually believe. It applies to heaven, or actually all I know about is here on Earth, which is, I believe that if you think of someone, whether it be here or in someplace else, that they come alive. I think the film has a religious content to it. And so I found the film beautiful when it was either in heaven, which I agree is better, or on earth.
Yeah, but of course, whether or not you believe in this doesn't have anything to do with whether the movie is good or not.
For me, it does.
Okay, well, in that case, you think every movie you agree with is good.
I have for you.
Okay. I think that the problem with the stuff on Earth is that once they get back down to Earth again,
Yes?
then they lead totally separate lives most of the
They
time.
have to,
All of
by
this
the nature
business
of the...
about Timothy Hutton being the wandering minstrel and so forth. And we know it's predestined, it's if there's anything preordained in this movie, it's that they will meet. You know the movie isn't going to end without them meeting, and so why do we have to have all of this wheel spinning? We could have more of the heaven stuff or more of the supernatural stuff.
If you give me more of the heaven stuff, I like the film more. But I still think that there is so much in here that is original and fresh. I really recommend the film.
Okay.
Our next film is called Less Than Zero. And remember that yuppie movie a couple years ago called St. Elmo's Fire? Well, this picture, I think, is only half as bad as that turkey because it has only half as many college-age characters who are wasting their lives on drugs. In this film, Andrew McCarthy plays a good student who returns home to ritzy Beverly Hills to find that his former best friend is now strung out on drugs.
When'd you get back?
Today.
Wow, you look very collegiate.
McCarthy's old girlfriend, Jamie Gertz, is also strung out on drugs, but she is more concerned with the drug habit of her current boyfriend, who used to be McCarthy's best friend.
I think Julian's in a lot of trouble.
Julian?
I didn't know who else to call.
I can think of about 500 people downstairs.
No, he's in trouble.
Old trouble or new trouble?
He disappears, nobody knows where, and then he comes back like nothing ever happened, and he's wasted all the time.
Well, McCarthy still has the hots for her, but despite his anger that his pal has stolen his girlfriend, he tries to help out his old friend, only to learn that he is heavily in debt to a drug dealer.
How much?
50,000. 50 and change. We could use that.
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus.
What for?
Drug debt. I didn't think it's for.
That's Robert Downey Jr. as the strung-out friend. To help him, Andrew McCarthy visits the drug dealer, played by James Spader, to see if he can resolve the debt.
I'll get the money. I'll sell my car, whatever it takes.
What, have you seen Julian recently?
You'll get what he owes you.
You're right, I will. And you want to know something, Clay? It's got nothing to do with you. Now listen to me on this, okay? I am not the problem here, all right? Julian is.
I think the central problem with Less Than Zero is the film glamorizes drug use more than it deflates it. In fact, more than I think even it is aware of. There are fancy parties in this film, there's the flashy life of the dealer, and Jamie Gertz's character uses cocaine without really awful effects. The film doesn't seem real to me. Andrew McCarthy is slow to act. He sort of waltzes through the film. The parents are all bad guys to be blamed, and no one takes a very hard-line activist approach to these young people in trouble. These are talented young actors, I think, but I think they have been given a much too glamorous, superficial script.
I disagree with just about everything you've said. I think this is really a terrific movie. It's extremely anti-drug. It's the most harrowing portrait of cocaine I've ever seen, and I'll go through your points one by one. This movie is glamorous only if you think possessions and surroundings are glamorous, because these people turn their surroundings and possessions into a cesspool, so that the contrast between the glamour and their inside lives is the whole point of the movie.
I don't think it's glamorous.
As to whether anything bad happens to Jamie Gertz, she loses her entire personality and her entire orientation on reality. I'd say that's pretty bad, and I'm glad that she comes back from that. And third, when you say that the parents are bad guys,
yes,
the person you're probably referring to is Robert Downey's father, who throws his son out of his home and says, you can lead your life any way you want to, but you can't come in here. That's not being a bad guy. That's known as tough love. It's a lot harder for a father to say, I'm not going to enable you to continue to use drugs. That takes more love than to bring him into his house and be nice to him. He's not a bad guy. He's a good guy with a lot of courage.
Except that
this movie knows a lot about drugs.
Except that the way that it's played. I think it's played as a cartoon, not in the way that you've expressed it. You, frankly, gave a better performance of the father than the guy in the movie.
Not at all, no.
And as far as Jamie Gertz's character, I think she has a problem, but she does not suffer the degree. I mean, she's sniffing throughout this whole film. This woman should be falling apart. Instead, we have sort of we flip back between the love story between her and Andrew McCarthy as much as we do the drug stuff. In fact, the very criticism you gave to the last film, which is that it should be more on in heaven than on earth. I'd say less love story and more dealing with drugs.
I don't think so. I think you're really giving this... For example, what about the Robert Downey performance? Now, here is a guy who really portrays on screen the total disintegration of a human being. I was very moved by it.
Richard Pryor did it better in his film.
Well, I don't think so. I think that Less Than Zero is really, really a good film and a very good portrait of cocaine. Coming up next, Shelley Long stars in Hello Again, about a woman who returns from the dead, much to the amazement of her survivors.
Here I am, again.
Our next movie is named Hello Again, and it stars Shelley Long in the story of a woman who dies and is buried, and then a year later she's brought back from the dead by her sister, whose hobby is black magic. In the movie, Long plays a kind of a lovable klutz who is always falling over things and embarrassing herself, and in this scene we see her sister, played by Judith Ivey, chanting an ancient incantation by the light of a full moon, look at those scented candles there, to bring her back to life. When Long opens her eyes, she doesn't even know she's been dead.
Let's get out of here. Oh, my God. What am I doing in this dress?
Ken said it would be perfect for you, but...
Oh, who are we kidding? I wouldn't be caught dead in this dress.
Once she's back on Earth, Shelley Long heads straight for home, where she finds her husband, Corbin Burnson from L.A. Law, has already married her best friend. As far as they're concerned, she's been dead for a year. They're horrified.
I can't accept... What is this? Some sort of absurd joke. Who are you?
Jason, it's Lucy.
And that's Celia Ward as the best friend and new wife. Hello Again is a movie filled with missed opportunities. It has some points that it wants to make about Corbin Burnson's choice between the klutzy integrity of his first wife and the glamorous materialism of his second wife, and it makes those points, and they're pretty obvious. And since he plays a plastic surgeon, it also takes some pokes at venal modern medicine with raise those rates and sell those plastic surgery operations and build a new wing of this hospital. So what? It never really exploits the countless possibilities of a situation where a person comes back to life after people have not only buried her but started to live fairly well without her. What would really happen in a situation like that instead of these phony sitcom one-liners? The movie works best when two supporting characters are on the screen. Judith Ivey as the sister who's a weirdo spiritualist, and Austin Pendleton is a lonely billionaire who falls in love with Judith Ivey. I love their characters. The moment they first exchange a glance, it gets a bigger laugh than any written line in the entire film.
I didn't laugh once throughout the entire film.
Not even then?
No, I did not laugh at all. I was, you used the word sitcom. That's what this is. This is an overgrown TV show. This, I don't know if this would be even a pilot for a series. I mean, this would be a bad episode of a show. To me, nothing is funny. The Shelley Long falls and her blouse gets wet with soup does not amuse me. That she comes back to Earth and that they're shocked and scream, that did not amuse me. There's nothing in the movie that amused me.
They miss one out.
I just don't. I don't get the juice in the picture where it could have been, other than what you suggested, which would involve a total rewrite of the whole film.
One of the things where they really miss the boat is when she comes back after a year. She says she remembers nothing from that year when she was away.
Right.
Her best one-liner would be, you know, I bring greetings from Jimmy Hoffa, or something. Something should have happened during that year that she can impress people with on Earth, but nothing happens, either while she's gone or, for that matter, after she comes back.
I think that would sum up a rather bad film. Coming up next, what do you do if you are a young boy and a Russian sailor washes up on shore next to your home? That's a question posed in the adventure film Ruskies.
I think that you have answered from beginning, Danny. You will turn me over to authorities.
Our next film is called Ruskies, with a young people's brigade, actually just 3 young boys, helping to keep the peace between Russia and the United States when they stumble across a Russian sailor who is shipwrecked and washes ashore near their Florida home. The boys like the Russian, named Misha, and they consider sending him to safety in Cuba, but he opposes their plan.
I am Soviet in America. These men are American military. They see me. They hear my name. I almost fight with them. This could be act of war. My friends, this day has been very wonderful. Like holiday. And I forget almost where I am and who I am. But now I am, how to say, between rock and roll.
A hard place.
Yes.
Not a very convincing Russian as far as I'm concerned. Some of the boys are influenced by their parents' attitude about Russia, and soon one of the boys is questioning Misha about the nature of his homeland.
Well, what about Afghanistan?
What about Vietnam?
What are you talking about? You forced us into that one.
Forced?
Yeah.
Not too deep. As you can imagine, the film turns into a Russian-American showdown where the boys play a pivotal role in resolving the conflict over an alien. And that way, Ruskies is sort of like a bad ripoff of E.T. The kids in the movie are not that bright, and their parents are true dunderheads, at least a few of them are. Someone should form a committee to argue for parents' rights in movies. They are probably discriminated against more than just about any group you can name. By the way, I didn't like Ruskies.
Oh, I can't recommend it either. I liked it probably more than you did. I thought that the ending of the film was utterly ludicrous.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I mean, where, you know, everybody, every single plot thread is assembled about 2 miles out to sea, and everybody gets their own little piece of dialogue so that I can handle this situation, you can handle that situation,
right.
and we can...
And the lovers...
Forget about that. You know, I have a rule, I guess we both have a rule on this show, that we never say things like, sure to be liked by so-and-so. We only say whether we liked it or not.
You're not gonna...
Oh, I am. Now, I didn't like this film, but I think that if I were a boy between the ages of 9 and 12, or
with half
13,
your IQ,
I probably would have liked it quite a lot. I mean, and that's just about the group that it's aimed at as far as I'm concerned. So
okay.
I violated that law.
There's your
I'm sorry.
advice from Uncle Roger.
I'll pay for that.
Little kids. And for all you people who are not between 9 and 12 and are not male, take the advice from Uncle Gene. Skip Ruskies. Coming up next, Hiding Out, where a 29-year-old stockbroker tries to hide from vicious killers by pretending he's a high school student.
Last school attended. Cornell. High school.
Our next movie is named Hiding Out, and it stars John Cryer as a stockbroker who's pushing 30 and is very happy as an adult until one day he gets in a lot of trouble. His firm has helped float an issue of some phony bonds, and now the government wants Cryer as a witness, and the problem is the criminals who floated the bonds will kill Cryer rather than let him testify. And so in this scene, Cryer learns from one of his colleagues that their lives are in danger.
You don't pay so that much in counterfeit paper on your own. I'm telling you, we were chumps. Get us laundering money for the mob.
He's not paranoid. He's right, as Cryer finds out for sure a few days later when gunmen from the phony bond salesman come looking for him. Cryer decides to go underground to hide himself by pretending to be a high school student.
Oh, you want my name? Maxwell.
Maxwell what?
Hauser.
The situation grows even more complicated when the 29-year-old Cryer falls in love with a girl half his age and realizes he cannot keep his secrets forever.
I keep wondering who you are. Why you don't give me your phone number, why you'd never show me where you live. Max, where do you go when you go home?
I guess everyone has wondered at one time or another what it will be like to be back in high school again, knowing what we know now. And in fact, a whole movie was made about that idea, a movie called Peggy Sue Got Married. That was a great movie because it dealt seriously with the questions of time and age and memory, but Hiding Out is not a good movie because it goes more for superficial gimmicks. Take, for example, that love affair between the adult broker and the young teenage girl. What do they really have in common other than some kind of half-witted, idealized movie notion of true love transcending all barriers? Wouldn't there be some serious problems in that relationship, or even some funny problems? Not in this movie, which is more concerned with cheap laughs and a bizarre assassination attempt in the last reel than it is with the promising material that's right there in the story. A movie that was really about a 29-year-old passing as a high school student, and what really happened to him might have been interesting.
Well,
once again, we're up against one-liners again.
Well, yeah, it might have been interesting, but there is such a long setup to get him to high school. First of all, just if you're dealing with this material, I mean, let's get him to high school, and let's get him out of the brokerage office real fast, and the chasing of the gunmen is absolutely boring. Once he's in high school, I don't think he has anything to do. I mean, there's nothing there. He doesn't do anything
I'll
fresh.
tell you, there's one scene that indicates the direction the movie could have gone in. She goes to pick up that girl for a date. Her father is there with his home computer trying to figure out his income tax. This guy's an accountant.
Yes.
He hits one key on the keyboard, saves the guy $1,000 on his spreadsheet.
That's a cute scene.
So Pop pulls out $20 so they can have a pizza.
That's a cute scene. I wish there had been more like it in the film. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We split wildly on Made in Heaven with Timothy Hutton and Kelly McGillis. Roger only liked the heavenly sequences. I think the whole picture is terrific. 1 thumb up, 1 down. Another big disagreement on Less Than Zero. Roger thought it was a powerful film against drugs. I thought it glamorized them. 2 thumbs way down for Hello Again, the insipid comedy with Shelley Long and Corbin Burnson. Neither one of us like Ruskies. 2 thumbs down for that, although Roger thinks little boys might get a kick out of it. Oh, isn't he nice? And 2 more thumbs down for Hiding Out, about the stockbroker in high school. So the picture that I really recommend, and I do, is Made in Heaven. I think it's very special.
And the picture I really recommend, that I really do, is Less Than Zero, which I think deserves comparison with The Falcon and the Snowman. It's really a good movie.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
Falcon
yes, it
and
does.
the Snowman is much better. Rent Falcon and the Snowman. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll review Arnold Schwarzenegger in the futuristic fantasy called The Running Man, and Cross My Heart, a romantic comedy starring Martin Short. That's next week. And until then, the balcony is closed.
Nestle Crunch. It's creamy milk chocolate and crispy crunchies. Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why you'll love Nestle Crunch. Travel with Bailey luggage. Luggage for your lifestyle. Made in America from ballistic nylon. Guaranteed for a lifetime. By Bailey. Glade Air Freshener. Nothing freshens a home like Glade. Now in 11 fresh scents. Glade. AT&T long-distance gift certificates. The gift that lets people stay close to faraway family and friends.